All right, I picked all 272 NFL regular season games. I'm breaking down all 32 teams. Let's do the AFC North here today. Let's hop right on into it. All right, our Cincinnati Bengals, 9-8 last year, and it's just like the Bengals can never seem to get it right. This team is probably the most infuriating team to watch. One of the worst offensive lines, one of the worst defenses. But man, when they can protect and if they can play any defense, this team is dangerous. Joe Burrow at quarterback, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins all locked down in contracts there. But really, it's about the defense, it's about the offensive line, and it's about the special teams. Now, Evan McPherson back at kicker, so they're not going to have as many kicking woes this year. They did lose offensive tackle Trent Brown, which, what are we losing here? He's supposed to be good, but the O-line is terrible anyway. The defense, which was already terrible, lost some people. But the biggest loss is Trey Hendrickson. Like, what is going on? Trade contract situation. Only the Bengals can put themselves in these nonsense situations. This is the worst ownership group, I think, in the league right now. They're cheap as all hell over here. They draft Shamar Stewart with their first pick, but they're trying to be cheap on the contract, and they don't get him into camp till very late. So it's always something with the Bengals. They're so infuriating. With that being said, Joe Burrow is healthy, and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have been there all year or all offseason, so camp's ready to go. And we have Chase Brown, who I very much like at running back. They still managed to go 9-8 last year with the slow start, with all the nonsense going around. And I think with the health and those weapons, it's just going to be too much for a lot of teams to handle. And they will get some things figured out. Look, I don't love their head coach. I haven't loved Zach Taylor forever. I think he's very mediocre to bad. But Bengals fans, tell me wrong. They love him. They hate him. He's trash, okay? Not good. I do think the Bengals are going to be slightly better this year. Maybe pump the brakes on like Bengals breakout team, Bengals 13 wins, Bengals win the division because Joe Burrow is Joe Shiesty. We do love us some Joe Burrow, probably my favorite quarterback in the NFL. I got the Bengals going one game better, 10-7 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Probably good enough for a wild card spot. It is going to depend on some of the tiebreakers. I don't know. We'll see. This is a very tough division, and they don't play great against the division rival Ravens, and they kind of struggle with the Cleveland Browns, who are the worst team in the division. So got to get that stuff figured out if you're Cincinnati, but it's a third place schedule, so it's very navigable for them. They do play the NFC North, which is a tough NFC, probably the toughest NFC division, but I do have the Browns just slightly better at 10-7, probably good enough for a playoff spot in Cincinnati. All right, and if you haven't subscribed already, like most of you guys haven't, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Most of you guys are new viewers, so if you're new here, we got long form sports content every single day. Hit that subscribe button or like. It really helps the channel out a ton. Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-7 last year. Great start to the year. The wheels fell off the wagon, though. They ended up losing in the first round in the wild card. And the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields quarterback thing, it was all over the place. But Mike Tomlin gets above 500. He wins football games. And this team made a ton of weird additions and lost some people. And the Steelers are a team that I think I've done the most flip-flopping on. I was really off on the Steelers. I thought for sure this would be the year that they just fall off. They add wide receiver TK Metcalf. They lose George Pickens, so a crazy man for a crazy man swap. They trade for Jalen Ramsey. They trade for Jonnu Smith. Ramsey on the wrong end of like just being old at the DB position. I do like Jonnu Smith at the tight end spot, and in comes the man himself, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. But I've really liked the buzz around camp. Like, it's all positive. It's not like the Jet shit. He kind of really respects and values Mike Tomlin, and I think that's huge for a guy like Rodgers at his age. But Rodgers doesn't love to get hit. He's old, man. He doesn't like taking that beating. It's going to be on the offensive line. Can they protect Rodgers? And can they run the football? I really like the addition of Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa. They do lose their first-round draft pick in Derek Harmon for a few weeks. They avoided disaster, it looks like, but he does get banged up a little bit. The thing is, this defense is still going to be very, very good. This was one of the best defenses in football last year, but they faded down the stretch. They get TJ Watt a new contract, but he's got to stay healthy. Didn't love that move. I don't love the long-term success or setup for this football team or this franchise, but I've done a complete flip. I do not think this is going to be a disaster. I think this team is actually going to be really competitive, and it's going to be better than a lot of people think. I think Rodgers is actually somehow going to work. Like, it's all about a respect thing for Rodgers, and I think he's going to do it. I think he respects Tomlin. I think the offense is going to work. They're going to protect him. They're going to run the football. They're going to have some nice play action plays. DK Metcalf, jump ball. He's going to win them as long as he doesn't get all 15-yard penalty every third play or something like that. I actually have the Steelers going 10-7 again. And is it enough for the wild card spot? We will find out. It's going to come down to tiebreakers, but I can't believe I'm doing this. I got the Steelers back in the playoffs 10-7 here. It's going to be really, really close. I think they're going to be good. They're not going to be great behind this good, very good defense, top 5 defense, maybe top 3 defense. I think the offense is going to do just enough to hold on to this winning streak for Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin. So 10-7 for the Steelers. Okay, the Cleveland Browns, 3-14 last year. What else is new with the Cleveland Browns? But it looks like they finally successfully moved on from the Deshaun Watson era, the dreadful trade, the dreadful contract, all that stuff. He's still on the team, but he tore his Achilles like for a second time last year. Whatever. It's always nonsense with Deshaun Watson. They do add quarterback Joe Flacco, officially named the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. They added Kenny Pickett. He's been banged up throughout camp, as well as drafting Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. They're going to keep 4 quarterbacks. I think the last time we saw a team with 4 quarterbacks was the Saints in 21, and one of them was Taysom Hill. It's just kind of weird and crazy to think about that. Nobody keeps 4 quarterbacks, but the Browns are going to keep 4 quarterbacks. This defense is still going to be solid, if anything. They re-signed Myles Garrett. They gave him a new contract. He said he wanted to win. He really wanted to get paid. That's how it goes. Quinshon Judkins, their early running back pick, had to deal with a lot of legal issues, but he is back. Let's see if they can get him signed, as well as another guy, Isaiah Bond, who was a talented wide receiver, had some legal issues they bring in. It's Cleveland, baby. It's always got to be drama. The Shedeur Sanders situation is getting a little crazy out there, but I like Joe Flacco. I trust Joe Flacco. There's something about him, man. I'll tell you what, as Ravens fans would say. But he did make the playoffs with this Browns team 2 years ago. Are they as good as that team? No. Jerry Jeudy was pretty mediocre last year when he didn't have Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball. He had a couple of games here, but I think Joe Flacco is going to find his guy there. He had a really big season with Amari Cooper. This backfield, not great. Nick Chubb moves on. He wasn't really anything last year coming off the knee injury. If anything, the Browns are going to play defense. They're going to be feisty, but I just don't think this team is going to win a lot of football games. Again, a great division overall. Flacco didn't look ideal in Indianapolis. Maybe it was lightning in a bottle. Maybe not. Maybe Joe still got it, and it was just the wrong kind of offense in Indianapolis. Not a whole lot of skill position guys. David Njoku is going to be the leader receiver, I think, on this team. Everything. I just figure out the run game. It's Cleveland. What are the Browns? Only the Browns can have a franchise quarterback. Throw him away for a guy they thought was a franchise quarterback who doesn't like football, got paid, and quits, and is a deviant sexual predator. Only the Browns can do these things. Only the Browns can do these things. I think it's going to be another terrible season. Kevin Stefanski ultimately gets fired despite everybody kind of liking him. It's just why would you put yourself through that if you're Stefanski? I got the Browns going 4-13. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be special. Defense might win them a game or 2. Maybe they get to 5 or 6, but Cleveland's dreadful. Cleveland is Cleveland. Way to go, Browns. All right, and finally we have the Baltimore Ravens. 12-5 last year, won the division. A heartbreaking loss in the divisional round. Mark Andrews dropping the football. And it kind of feels like the Ravens are in a weird spot, man. The Lamar Jackson playoff things are very real. Look, Lamar Jackson, you can blame other people, say you want. Lamar Jackson always plays his worst game of the season in the playoffs. It's a real concern. He's an unbelievable regular season quarterback, and he has playoff wins, but he just has bad games in the postseason, and ultimately ends up being the Ravens' downfall. Now, they do have wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know how much is left. They had Jair Alexander. They had Chibi Awuzie. I butchered that. But they draft Mike Green to bolster this pass rush, which really wasn't that good last year. Good in the run game overall, Baltimore, but not great pass rushes. And they add Malachi Starks on the back end. This is probably the best safety tandem in the NFL with him and Kyle Hamilton. It's going to feel like the old days in Baltimore where you're not going to be able to go deep on them. Or if you're throwing across the middle, watch out. Even as much as you can hit guys in the NFL. We'll see about that. They move on from Justin Tucker, but Tucker was terrible. Anyway, the offensive line's not great. The interior of the offensive line's kind of weak. They're doing some moving around, but it wasn't great last year. This is all on Lamar. This is all on Derrick Henry. Can he keep running the football? And what is Harbaugh doing? Is this a Harbaugh issue? Is it a Lamar Jackson issue? It's getting weird in Baltimore, but I don't think it's getting weird enough. And this team is so talented especially in the regular season. They win a lot of football games. They're such a pain in the ass to deal with, especially when you play a bunch of teams that aren't used to seeing the Ravens kind of power nose style. I do still like Xavier Flowers. Rashad Bateman came on really strong down the stretch last year. He is a touchdown machine, so I do like that pairing there. It's just like they always leave you with a bad taste in your mouth at the end of the season, the Ravens. It felt like they should be a little bit better. They should have done a little bit more in the postseason. I got the Ravens being strong once again, and I do have them winning the division title. I trust this team. I trust this organization. Playoffs are a different concern, but in the regular season, they are a bunch of top dogs. I got them going 13-4 in the regular season, a very strong year, and another division title for Baltimore. So let's recap the AFC North. I got the Ravens winning the division at 13-4. I got the Cincinnati Bengals at 10-7 and making the postseason in the wild card. I have the Steelers at 10-7, also making the wild card. So 3 playoff teams in the AFC North. And I got the Cleveland Browns, not the worst team in the league, but not a good team at all. Pretty bad team, actually, at 4-13. So we got the NFC West on deck tomorrow, our final NFC division as we race towards the start of the NFL season. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, subscribe to the channel for daily long-form content of the football season. We're going to have live streams or long-form videos every single day, guys. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liked. Again, like, subscribe, and share.